The day the rebels breached the city gates, my sister and I cut our hair to disguise ourselves as men. Yet she secretly smeared blood on the back of my trousers. When my cover was blown and I was dragged into an alley, she seized the chance to flee the city without looking back. Only after death did I learn I was the villainous female supporting character in a novel, while my sister was the heroine driven by devotion to family and nation. To find the male lead and save the realm, she sacrificed me without hesitation. Everyone forgave her, except me. Reborn, I return to the day this tragedy began. If she possesses such grand ambitions, let her bear the sacrifice. Main text, eldest sister, if it means saving the people of this realm, we'd do anything you ask, wouldn't we? Hearing those words again, I felt as if I'd awakened from a long nightmare, my entire body trembling. I looked at Zhao Yiru. Her gaze was fixed on a woman being bullied by rebels not far away. Everyone on the street was too busy fleeing for their lives to offer help. They watched helplessly as the woman's clothes were torn off, her cries of agony echoing through the streets. In my previous life, I naively believed Zhao Yiru was simply like me, grieving her own weakness as a woman, powerless to do anything in this chaotic world. So I echoed her words, yes. Wherever I can be of use, even if it costs me my life, I will not hesitate. I never imagined that as I spoke those words, Zhao Yiru bit her fingertip and secretly smeared 2 drops of blood on the back of my trousers. That's how I was exposed by the rebels, dragged into an alley, and met the same fate as that woman. During the days Zhao Yiru was missing, I constantly worried about her safety, fearing she'd suffer the same fate as me. Countless times I prayed to the heavens, hoping she hadn't been discovered by the rebels like me, hoping she had escaped to safety. I cursed the heavens and my own misfortune, yet I never once doubted her. Until half a year later, when the imperial forces crushed the rebels. Zhao Yiru rode into the city atop Prince Qi's horse, the people lining the streets cheering her as a heroic woman. Yet she leapt from the horse and knelt before me, eldest sister, without you, I could never have delivered the treasure map to His Highness Prince Qi. You saved the people of this realm. Before everyone, she revealed how I had helped distract the rebels, then declared sternly, my elder sister sacrificed her virtue for the sake of the people. Whoever dares to look down on her, this princess will not let them off lightly. In that moment, I realized everything I had endured was orchestrated by Zhao Yiru. It all stemmed from our Zhao family possessing a treasure map left behind by the previous dynasty. Father entrusted it to Zhao Yiru, commanding her to deliver it to Prince Qi, the ruler the people supported, to aid him in unifying the realm. Zhao Yiru knew full well that if she faced the rebels head-on, the map would be lost. To ensure absolute safety, she needed someone to rescue her in times of peril. That person was me. While I endured 6 months of inhuman torment, reduced to a military prostitute in the rebel camp, she was in the Prince of Qi's tent, sharing wine and confiding their deepest feelings. When she returned, she was the exalted princess consort of Qi, while I was known to all as a broken flower, a fallen woman. She beamed with delight, saying, eldest sister, look at this peaceful realm. It was all worth it, wasn't it? All the splendor belonged to Zhao Yiru. All the agony was mine. Yet she told me it was all worth it. Even more absurdly, when I confronted Zhao Yiru about her treatment of me, she turned the accusation back on me. It was you who said you'd sacrifice yourself for the people of the realm, she declared. Had I not borne this heavy burden, I would have gladly sacrificed myself instead. Could it be that my eldest sister resents me for becoming the Qi princess consort, making her regret her earlier words? If so, I shall relinquish this title to her. She lectured me with righteous indignation, as if I had betrayed her out of selfishness while she remained utterly devoted. Everyone forgave her, believed her, and instead blamed me for being unreasonable, urging me to be more magnanimous. Amidst the public outcry, I was utterly demonized. Finally, Zhao Yiru pierced my heart with a sword, delivering her grand, heroine-like declaration, for the sake of the common people, what does my elder sister's small sacrifice matter? I never considered my sister's body unclean. What was truly unclean was her selfish, self-serving heart. Only after death did I learn our world was a book, and Zhao Yiru was its grand heroine, devoted to saving the realm. To fulfill her destiny of redemption, I became the utterly villainous supporting character. Yet all I ever wanted was a single I'm sorry. Recalling the events of my past life, my heart burned like it was consumed by flames. Yet Zhao Yiru remained oblivious, still trying to manipulate me. Pointing at the bullied woman, she said, "Take her, for instance. Though she's being bullied, she's unknowingly helping others. So her suffering isn't entirely in vain." I turned and slapped Zhao Yiru across the face. Furious, I snapped, "In chaotic times, women should support each other. What kind of heart makes you say such things?" Zhao Yiru clutched her face, unable to believe that I, who had always doted on her, would ever strike her. Not only would I strike her, but I would make her understand that unless the rod falls on one's own back, one cannot know the pain. I picked up a stone from the ground and hurled it at the rebel soldiers tormenting the woman. It struck one squarely in the head, blood gushing instantly. Then I stepped back, standing behind Zhao Yiru and watching her in horror. The rebels fell for the ruse, releasing the woman and advancing step by step toward Zhao Yiru. Zhao Yiru was utterly petrified. She immediately turned to look for me, but I was already gone. While the rebels' attention was fixed on Zhao Yiru, I slipped around, helped the bullied woman to her feet, and hid her in a nearby abandoned dumpling shop. Fortunately, I had intervened in time. The woman had only been stripped of her clothes and hadn't yet been truly violated. Even so, she was overcome with agony, trembling uncontrollably in my arms. I found a knife and an iron rod in the kitchen. I placed the knife in her hand, instructing her to hide it, then stepped outside wielding the iron rod. I found the alley where the incident had occurred in my past life. With every step inward, I recalled every ounce of pain endured that day. I heard Zhao Yiru's shrill cries and pleas for mercy. I saw her frantically covering her chest as those beasts groped her, utterly oblivious to the treasure map peeking out from her shoe. So she cared about her virtue after all. I swung the iron bar decisively, smashing each beast's skull with thunderous force. Blood spluttered across Zhao Yiru's face, sending her into a blood-curdling scream. I bent down, grabbed her collar, and dragged her back to the dumpling shop. The rescued woman had already dressed herself, still clutching the knife tightly. I ordered her to rise and follow me, then took Zhao Yiru home. In just 1 hour, the Zhao residence had been ransacked by the rebels. Servants and maids lay dead or wounded. Chen Tao and Xiaohe, the 2 maids who attended to Zhao Yiru and me, were not spared. After being brutally violated by the rebels, they were savagely murdered and left naked in the courtyard. They had just turned 13 days ago and would sometimes play with me privately like sisters. In my previous life, I knew they died at the hands of rebels, but I hadn't witnessed it firsthand. Seeing their horrifying state now, I finally understood what it meant to be consumed by rage. Simply because we were women, even in death we were squeezed dry of our last shred of value for men's amusement, such was the world. The world is so unjust to women, yet some shamelessly claim that enduring humiliation is acceptable if it saves the realm. First violated by men, then betrayed by women who should be our kin. Where is justice? The sound of a wheelchair approached. I looked up to find Zhao Yiru had slipped away unnoticed, fetching my father Zhao Yin from the inner chambers. His crippled legs rendered him harmless, allowing Zhao Yin to escape the rebels unscathed. Before I could speak, he barked at me, "Rebellious daughter. Kneel before me." Tears streaked Zhao Yiru's face, she clearly exaggerated my actions to Zhao Yin. I rose calmly. "Why should I kneel?" Zhao Yin roared with fury. "As the eldest sister, you failed to protect your own kin. Instead, you pushed her into the jaws of the beast. Is this how I raised you?" Looking at Zhao Yin now, I felt not a shred of joy at a relative's escape. I could never forget how, in my past life, he had concealed the treasure map from me with flawless secrecy, yet commanded me to protect Zhao Yiru at all costs, even sacrificing my own life if necessary. After Zhao Yuru's triumphant return, he had sternly urged me to be magnanimous, then secretly exiled me to a remote backwater under cover of night to prevent me from tarnishing the Qi princess consort's reputation. Finally, when I learned he and Zhao Yiru had conspired against me, my world crumbled. As I resolved to destroy everything, he stood behind Zhao Yiru and handed her a sword. His voice dripped with pity. "Had I known this day would come, Ruer, you should never have saved her. You should have let her remain a military prostitute for life. Only then would she understand how hard-won this peaceful realm truly is." What a noble father. The ambitions he never fulfilled due to his crippled legs were vividly realized through Zhao Yiru. And the most dramatic stroke of all was his righteous sacrifice of kin against his eldest daughter. Had he not treated me so coldly, I might have endured the humiliation and pain Zhao Yiru inflicted. At least I would have had my father's affection. But he colluded with Zhao Yiru, spouting grand principles of righteousness while repeatedly pouring salt into my wounds, leaving me utterly alone and friendless. This time, I would see if father and daughter were truly so impartial and selfless. I spoke calmly. It was my sister who said she'd do anything to save the people. That's why I acted. A few touches from rebels, no real loss. But I saved an innocent life. Wasn't that worth it? Where did I go wrong? Zhao Yiru roared, "You weren't the one humiliated, so of course it's easy for you to say." Just as I expected. In Zhao Yiru's eyes, there was no such thing as selfless sacrifice for the common people. All those grand words were only possible because she wasn't the one suffering the humiliation and torment. If it happened to her, even a millionth of what I endured in my past life, it would be unbearable. Zhao Yin was even more so. He declared with righteous indignation, "It's just some stranger's life. How could it matter more than your sister's honor? You're clearly hiding your own selfish motives. Like countless men in this world, they inflict harm upon women with such complacent ease. Because they knew they would never face the same treatment. And because, in their eyes, countless things were far more worthy of pursuit than the lives or dignity of these women. What he truly cared about wasn't Zhao Yiru's virtue, but whether she could remain unblemished while carrying the treasure map to that man who might one day become emperor. Dignity and virtue, they must be used strategically to maximize their value." I replied with sudden clarity. "Oh. No wonder I feel no turmoil, even a hint of joy. It's simply because the one disgraced is my sister, not me. Well then, heaven has eyes after all." Zhao Yiru never imagined I could be so brazen. She turned to Zhao Yin, "Father. You must avenge me." Zhao Yin trembled with rage at my defiance. "Rebellion. Servants. Bring the family discipline rod. I must purge this household." Did he not see the reality? His family was dead, chaos reigned outside. Did he still think himself the Zhao patriarch issuing commands? In this household now, might ruled. I strode up the steps and kicked Zhao Yin's wheelchair over. That wheelchair was the gift I'd given him on his 40th birthday. I'd worked my fingers raw for half a year making it, barely sleeping a wink. Yet when he received it, he merely gave it a cold glance before looking away. "You only know how to make useless things. Your sister is far more sensible." Zhao Yiru had merely copied a policy essay from some random book and presented it to him, and he treasured it like a priceless gem. I'd poured my heart and soul into this gift, expecting at least a flicker of gratitude, only to earn a scolding in return. If he disdained my gift, then he shouldn't use it. I watched Zhao Yin fly out of his wheelchair, landing like a sack of hemp at the bottom of the steps. Years of disability had already left his body weaker than most, and his relentless obsession with unattainable fame and fortune had further drained him. This fall felt like a brutal beating. He let out a series of agonized screams, lying motionless on the ground. Zhao Yiru's eyes widened as she turned to me. "Zhao Mingxi, you." Before she could finish, I kicked her flying across the room. Then I summoned all the surviving members of the Zhao household and counted them. Though not a grand noble house in Xinzhou, the Zhaos had once employed dozens of servants. Now only a dozen or so remained. Subtracting the injured and adding Liang Yun, whom I'd rescued, there were barely 7 or 8 capable hands left. I ordered everyone to immediately barricade the main gate, gather every defensive tool they could find, and guard the entrance. Not a single rebel soldier was to be let in, nor was anyone permitted to leave. Zhao Yiru protested, eyes wide, "Have you lost your mind? Are we supposed to die here? We'll be killed." She knew well that staying in the city meant certain death. Yet after escaping Xinzhou alone in her previous life, she had encountered Prince Qi Xiejin arriving with his troops and earnestly urged him to abandon Xinzhou. With the phrase "destruction precedes creation," she persuaded Xiejin to realize that only when the imperial court's forces collapsed like a mountain could the treasure map achieve its greatest effect. Only then could he seize the realm in one decisive move and save this ravaged dynasty. Because of Zhao Yiru's actions, Xiejin abandoned Xinzhou, a territory that could have been easily reclaimed. Innocent civilians were brutally slaughtered, virtuous women forced into military prostitution. For over 180 days, Xinzhou became a living hell. Yet she and Xie Jin spent their nights in the military camp, drinking wine and singing songs beneath the moon. To win her smile, Xie Jin even risked his life by sending a lowly soldier to sneak back into Xinzhou, all to buy the fruit she loved since childhood for her birthday celebration. In this story, the empire and its people were merely a backdrop to the passionate romance between Zhao Yiru and Xie Jin. Pointing toward the gate, I told Zhao Yiru, "If you don't wish to stay, you may leave now. I won't stop you. But remember this, once you step beyond this gate, don't look back. For even if you clap your hands until they bleed, I won't open the door again." Zhao Yiru rolled her eyes in disdain and turned toward the gate. Yet after just 2 steps, she halted. She suddenly fixed her gaze on Liang Yun in the corner and declared haughtily, "You're coming with me." Liang Yun froze, glancing between her and me. Zhao Yiru immediately grew displeased. "Didn't you hear what she just said? She'd betray even her own sister. What makes you think she'd spare you? Do you want to stay behind and be next?" I knew Zhao Yiru too well. She wouldn't dare set out alone without someone to use as a shield. Maintaining the upper hand at all costs was her survival strategy from her past life. Unexpectedly, however, Liang Yin didn't respond immediately upon hearing her words. Instead, he lowered his head. After a long silence, a timid voice spoke up, yet it carried a hint of resolve. "But it was your sister who truly saved me. You, on the other hand, remained indifferent, never intending to help. If I follow you, and trouble comes, you'll abandon me too. How is that any different from betraying me?" These words left Zhao Yiru flushed crimson with humiliation. Yet her feet remained firmly planted, refusing to move. I knew she couldn't leave. I didn't intend to press my advantage, for a sudden realization struck me. Since Zhao Yiru and Xie Jin were the destined male and female leads in the novel, as long as Zhao Yiru remained trapped here, Xie Jin would inevitably come to liberate Xinzhou. That should be the case, shouldn't it? My guess proved spot on. 2 days later, Xie Jin indeed led several thousand elite troops to Xinzhou to quell the rebellion. Battle erupted between the two sides, completely sealing off the entire city. Escape was now impossible. Zhao Yiru was overcome with dread. More than whether she could deliver the treasure map to the Prince of Qi, she now fretted over whether she could survive until the imperial forces crushed the rebels. She finally understood the terror the people of Xinzhou had endured in her previous life. At the slightest disturbance, she would dart into a room like a startled bird. I had long since issued an order: every able-bodied member of the Zhao family must take turns guarding the city, or they would go without food. Fearful of death and unable to endure hunger, Zhao Yiru could only sneak into the kitchen to steal food when I was absent. Each time she did, I would suddenly appear and beat her severely. Over the course of several days, she endured hunger, beatings, and terror, none spared. In stark contrast to Zhao Yiru was Liang Yun. I never expected Liang Yun, appearing so frail and delicate, to steadfastly hold her post without a single complaint. Her father and brother were among the civilians who volunteered to defend the city gates when the rebels attacked. They died under the rebels' swords and spears when the gates fell. Later, the rebels stormed into her home. Her mother was killed on the spot, and Liang Yin herself narrowly escaped being violated. Had I not been reborn that day, Liang Yin would have met the same fate as Chen Tao and Xiaohe, killed by the rebels, or ended up like my past self, dragged into their camp to be used as a tool for their beast's lust. Like me, she was someone who had escaped death. Such people always grow stronger. That night, the Qi King's forces launched another fierce assault. The rebels were clearly in disarray, rampaging and slaughtering indiscriminately in a desperate last stand. While Liang Yun and I guarded the main gate, we heard the rebels battering the door. I immediately roused everyone, distributing the self-defense weapons and medicinal powders I'd crafted over the past few days. I instructed them to kill any rebel who breached the gate without hesitation. Though we'd faced rebel assaults on the gate several times before, none had prompted such intense preparations as this one. Zhao Yiru was utterly terrified, collapsing to the ground with limp limbs, wailing incessantly, "It's over. Everything's ruined. I told you we shouldn't have stayed." Then she began frantically berating Liang Yun, "It's all because of you, you ungrateful bitch. If it weren't for saving you, how would I have ended up trapped here? If you'd left with me, I could have escaped long ago. You've ruined me. I'll haunt you even as a ghost. Zhao Yuru tugged at her so violently, Liangyan swayed violently, nearly torn apart. I'd never expected Zhao Yuru to be of any help, but I hadn't anticipated her fragility either. Even now, she displayed her true colors, bullying the weak while fearing the strong. Though her resentment was directed at me, she vented it on Liangyan. I yanked her toward me and slapped her repeatedly across both cheeks. Shut your mouth if you don't want to die. I dragged her into a room and locked her in, to prevent her from causing chaos in her frenzy. Fortunately, the servants and maids who'd been injured earlier had mostly recovered over the past few days, so we barely had enough hands. I stationed several people at the back gate to watch for the rebels. If they flanked us, they were to pull the rope bell for help. Everyone else joined Liang Yun and me to guard the front gate. Probably still shaken by Zhao Yuru, Liang Yun stood frozen in place, clutching the sleeve darts I'd given her, not even knowing how to use them. I helped her put them on and told her that if danger came, she should clench her fist toward the enemy. As long as you have the courage to fight back, as long as you're willing to throw a punch, no one can hurt us. Liang Yun's eyes reddened as she nodded at me. My heart ached just as much. In my past life, after learning I'd been framed by Zhao Yuru, I was consumed by the desire to become powerful. So I trained in martial arts, mastered poison making, and honed my skills with hidden weapons. I thought I could use these abilities to kill Zhao Yuru. Yet now I must use these very skills to protect my family, including Zhao Yuru, the very source of my suffering. Soon, the Zhao family gate was smashed open by the rebels. Their vicious faces peered through the gap, like wolves starved for days, lunging viciously at their prey. I grabbed my long sword and pierced their bodies before they could harm my family. Blood spattered everywhere, turning the cool night air boiling hot. I killed one after another until my strength gave out, finally collapsing to my knees. Yet rebels still tried to force their way in. Seeing the household servants cowering in fear, I roared in fury, "As men, don't you even have the courage to protect your own family?" They trembled in terror, unable to take a single step forward. Then, Li Mama, who'd spent decades washing clothes, summoned her courage, let out a fierce shout, and hurled the medicinal powder in her hands at the enemy. Wang Mama charged from the kitchen, wielding a red-hot poker and a bottle of oil. With one smash and one sweep, the rebels were engulfed in flames. Seeing this, the household guards finally seemed to snap out of their stupor and charged forward to fight back. I watched them nervously, unaware that behind me, a rebel soldier who should have been dead was struggling to his feet. As the blade came down toward me, Liang Yin let out a cry, closing his eyes tightly as he raised his arm. His fingers snapped shut, sealing the throat with a single arrow. Half an hour later, no more rebels dared to break in. An hour later, the rebel leader, realizing he couldn't defeat the Qi Wang's army, fled the city with the looted goods. By dawn, the remaining scattered rebels in the city were killed by the enraged citizens. Xinzhou was finally saved. The moment the news came, I collapsed from exhaustion. Liang Yin collapsed beside me. Wang Mama, Li Mama, everyone lay sprawled on the floor. We all burst into laughter. Amidst the laughter came Zhao Yuru's shouts. She had finally regained her senses, frantically pounding on the door and urgently demanding, "Have the rebels fled? Has His Highness the Prince of Qi won? Someone, let me out. I must see His Highness the Prince of Qi." The city gates swung open. The people cheered as they welcomed the Prince of Qi's army into the city. I had witnessed this scene in my previous life, yet it had been the most agonizing day of my existence. Having been granted a second chance, how could I not let Zhao Yuru taste a fraction of my suffering? I ordered Zhao Yuru to be released. She dashed to the main gate and, seeing the scene on the street, burst into tears of joy. I knew His Highness the Prince of Qi would win. I just knew it. Her emotional display made it seem as though she herself had fought in the great battle, showing no trace of the terror that had nearly made her wet herself just hours before. Afterwards, Zhao Yuru rushed back to her room, carefully grooming herself. When she emerged again, she was dressed in women's clothing. She rushed eagerly toward the main gate, unaware I had been waiting for her beneath the corridor. I swung my staff at Zhao Yuru's knee. A sharp crack echoed, the sound of bone shattering. I watched her body lunge forward, face first onto the hard blue brick pavement. Her front teeth shattered instantly. I spared her life to save the people of this city. Not so she could bask in the fruits of victory. Zhao Yura lay on the ground, blood streaming from her mouth, wailing pitifully, "Zhao Mingxi. What did I ever do to you? Why are you doing this to me?" I wouldn't tell her. Just like in my past life, I never understood why Zhao Yura treated me that way. The more I couldn't figure it out, the more pain I felt, the deeper I sank into madness. I feigned incomprehension. "What are you saying, little sister? I'm only doing this for your safety." Though the rebels have been driven off, victory and defeat are common in warfare. Who knows if they might return? It's best to stay home. Father and I will look after you. As I spoke, I glanced at her injured leg, pretending to tend to it as I slipped off her shoe. Zhao Yura yelped, but it was too late. The treasure map slid out from beneath her shoe. I snatched it up, examining it closely. "What is this?" Zhao Yura turned pale with fear. "Give it back! Give it back!" She hadn't looked this panicked even when the rebels attacked. Of course not. After all, this map held the key to her lifetime of wealth and glory. Whether her so-called great cause for the world could be realized depended entirely on this map. How could she not care? I waited several days without exposing her, precisely for this moment. I stood up, clutching the map, my eyes gradually brightening. So it turns out our Zhao family really does have a treasure map. Then I turned and tossed it into the brazier. The flames flickered. It vanished without a trace. From that moment on, Zhao Yuru was as good as dead, reduced to a mere shell of a person. No matter what others said or did, she showed no reaction whatsoever. Zhao Yin fared even worse. The instant he heard I'd burned the treasure map, his body stiffened and he collapsed. When he awoke, not only was his lower body paralyzed, but his upper body was immobilized too. Only his eyes remained, fixed on me with a deathly glare, as if he could stare me to death. It was in this pleasant atmosphere that Xie Jin paid me a visit. The day after capturing Xinzhou, Xie Jin ordered the prefect to tally the city's survivors. That's when he came across the Zhao family's list. Generations of the Zhao family had served as imperial officials, until Zhao Yin's generation, when disability barred him from the bureaucracy. Xie Jin claimed that since he had arrived in Xinzhou, it was only proper for him to pay a visit. Of course, this was merely Xie Jin's self-serving justification. He didn't realize he'd been drawn here by Zhao Yuru, nor did he know how many heartless deeds he'd committed against her in his previous life. I had no intention of letting him know. He was the most repulsive character in this book, blindly protecting Zhao Yuru without reason, serving as her unwavering support. Exchanging even a single word with such a man felt like a waste of breath. My sole task was to ensure he crushed those rebels as swiftly as possible. Thus, when Xie Jin arrived at my door, I wept and thanked him profusely for his great kindness to the people of Xinzhou. I spun every acquaintance I had in Xinzhou City into his devoted supporters. Though Xie Jin knew his reputation as the benevolent king, this was the first time he'd heard specific, named citizens express their adoration for him. He couldn't help but feel deeply gratified. Men are always powerless against the allure of power and fame. Beyond that, there were women. I brought Zhao Yuru out. Having been drugged beforehand, Zhao Yuru's expression grew increasingly vacant, as lifeless as a piece of wood, utterly motionless. I told Xie Jin that Zhao Yuru had been defiled by the rebels, which was why she was now in this state. Those rebels were worse than beasts. My sister was once such a bright and intelligent young woman. She often said that even as a woman, she would serve the country and benefit the people. But because of those beasts, her dreams could never be realized. I did my utmost to portray Zhao Yuru as a brilliant, courageous woman tragically victimized by fate. After all, in his previous life, Xie Jin had first encountered Zhao Yuru when she bravely escaped from Xinzhou to deliver the treasure map, an act that moved him deeply and sparked his instant infatuation. I was certain that once Xie Jin learned of Zhao Yuru's brutal mistreatment by those rebels, he would be driven mad with vengeance. Yet the outcome utterly defied my expectations. Xie Jin's gaze lingered on Zhao Yuru for only a fleeting moment before shifting away. He spoke indifferently, "What's done is done. Your sister should learn to let go and live on with strength. As for those rebels, their time is up. Their arrogance won't last long. Once this prince has quelled the rebellion, they shall be torn limb from limb and punished with the utmost severity." Stunned, I stared at Xie Jin. I recalled his expression from my previous life, when he returned triumphant with Zhao Yuru and learned I'd been ravaged by rebels for half a year. It was identical to this moment, a slight frown, seemingly concerned, yet fundamentally perfunctory. But this shouldn't be. How could I possibly be compared to Zhao Yuru? In my past life, Xie Jin was willing to die for Zhao Yuru. He built walls of love around her, refusing to let anyone harm her in the slightest. Where exactly did things go wrong? I soon understood. In Xie Jin's eyes, a foolish woman whose virtue had been tarnished was no longer worthy of even a glance. He was like this, and so were many men in the world. They only bestow a shred of affection or kindness upon a woman when they perceive value in her. Once that value vanishes, even pity becomes an effort. But what I couldn't fathom was this: if Xie Jin hadn't been drawn here by Zhao Yuru, then what had brought him? As I stood there in a daze, something suddenly plummeted from above. In the nick of time, Xie Jin pulled me toward him. Several green roof tiles narrowly grazed my face, shattering into pieces on the ground. I looked up to see Liang Yan perched on the roof, eyes wide with terror. I was just trying to fix the roof. I didn't know there were guests. After dealing with the rebels, Liang Yan took it upon herself to lead the servants in repairing the house. Xie Jin's visit today was unexpected, and I hadn't had time to notify her. I assured her it was fine and told her to continue her work. When I turned back, however, I found Xie Jin staring at me intently, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Most women would have been scared stiff by that danger just now. Yet you remained completely unfazed. That shows some courage. My heart skipped a beat. Because I recalled Zhao Yuru mentioning in her triumphant return from my previous life how she and Xie Jin had met, and Xie Jin had spoken similar words then. Could it be? Sure enough, the next moment, Xie Jin spoke. I've heard the Zhao family successfully repelled several rebel attacks under your leadership. Would you be willing to join this prince in quelling the rebellion? Xie Jin didn't demand an immediate answer. He told me to think it over carefully and report my decision to him at the county office. After he left, Liang Yan climbed down from the roof and asked me excitedly, Sister Zhao, are you really going to join Prince Qi in suppressing the rebellion? Can you take me along too? I felt a lingering doubt and looked at Liang Yan seriously. Before I answer you, you must answer one question first. I took a deep breath. Did you notice anything off about the way Prince Qi looked at me just now? After receiving Liang Yan's affirmative answer, darkness clouded my vision. Furious, I rushed into the kitchen and spent the night concocting poison, determined to force it down Xie Jin's throat the moment I saw him. Liang Yan couldn't understand. Countless women admired Prince Qi, including Zhao Yuru. Now that he favored me, why wasn't I happy? She had no idea about the disgusting things I'd endured in my past life. Later, to demonstrate her great love and selflessness, Zhao Yuru voluntarily offered to share Xie Jin with me, to share the glory together. I flatly refused, but she thought I was putting on airs. She drugged me and sent me to Xie Jin's bed. You can imagine the look of disgust on Xie Jin's face when he found me in his bedding. Even when I desperately explained it wasn't my choice, Zhao Yuru forced me. He insisted I was framing her, refusing to believe a word. He beat me 50 lashes, leaving me bloodied and broken, then tossed me onto the street. I crawled back to the Zhao residence step by step, exposed to the whispers and scorn of passers-by. Those memories cling to me like maggots gnawing at my soul, jolting me awake in the dead of night as if possessed by a vengeful spirit. My hatred for Xie Jin is no less intense than my loathing for Zhao Yuru. So even knowing that stealing Xie Jin would be the perfect revenge against Zhao Yuru, I refused to stoop to such a level. Not in my past life, and certainly not in this one. I despise this couple equally, and I will exact equal vengeance upon them. If they must suffer, they suffer together. If they must die, they die together. No fancy tricks. Even if Xie Jin hadn't wronged me in my past life, I wouldn't have been smug just because he fancied me. I told Liang Yan, remember, as a woman, never measure your worth by a man's love. Nor validate yourself by defeating other women to win a man. Because when you do that, you've already placed him above your own life. Whatever you do then merely adds to his glory. Liang Yan nodded, seeming to grasp the meaning yet not fully. Returning to her earlier question, I asked, do you truly wish to follow Prince Qi? Liang Yin answered with unwavering resolve, I want to avenge my parents and brother. I want to slay those rebels with my own hands, as many as possible. If following His Highness Prince Qi means achieving that vengeance, then I will go. Even if I die on the battlefield, I will do so willingly. I stood up, my voice stern. Put that away. Liang Yin hastily gathered the poison I'd concocted and stowed it back in the box. I said, take back that last sentence. Revenge is about making enemies pay with their lives. Why should you sacrifice your own? If you can't kill them yourself, borrow the hands of those who deserve to die. When necessary, I could also borrow their lives. Thinking this way, I suddenly changed my mind. Sis Yun, pack up. I'll take you with me to suppress the rebellion. We'll kill to our heart's content. Before leaving, there were 2 troubles to resolve. I entered Zhao Yuru's room and brought her back to her senses with a single sentence. I didn't burn that treasure map. Zhao Yuru surfaced like a drowning person, gasping for fresh air. Lying on the bed, she stared wide-eyed at me, trying to discern truth from deception in my expression. I slowly drew the genuine treasure map from my bosom. I'm no fool. A fortune vast enough to rival a nation, powerful enough to reshape the world, how could I ever discard it? That defies human nature. Zhao Yuru's eyes instantly lit up. Overwhelmed with joy, she lunged toward me. But she'd forgotten her legs were crippled by my blows. Her upper body slid off the bed, while her lower half remained stuck, leaving her dangling helplessly over the edge. She cried out, Zhao Mingxi, give me back the treasure map. I must save the world, you can't be so selfish. I knelt before her, speaking to her as my sister for the first time since my rebirth. If you could go back to that day on the street, would you still save Liang Yun? I held my breath, hearing my own heartbeat echo in my ears. Zhao Yuru seemed to hear the most absurd question imaginable, her voice brimming with righteous indignation. Why should I save her? Life and death are predestined. She met her end because she crossed paths with those rebels. What business is it of mine? The world is in chaos now. Instead of thinking about doing something for the people, you're only preoccupied with one Liang Yun. Is she more important, or is the entire world more important? I sighed inwardly. The chance was yours, but you proved useless. I drew my blade and sliced cleanly across her throat before the next word could escape her lips. Then I moved swiftly away before the blood spurted out. Passing the adjacent room, I casually closed the door left open, lest Zhao Yin's gruesome state frighten passers-by. After disposing of Zhao Yin and Zhao Yuru's bodies, I brought Liang Yin into the Qi Prince's camp. I strained to recall the original book's accounts of this war, relaying the rebels' routes and tactics to Xie Jin. Though puzzled by my uncanny ability to predict the rebels' moves, Xie Jin chose to trust me, just as he had trusted Zhao Yuru in my previous life. With my assistance, the Qi King's forces won several consecutive victories. For the imperial court, which had previously lost over a dozen cities, this was a tremendous triumph. Xie Jin's affection toward me grew increasingly fervent, bordering on blatant displays of love. Each time this happened, I had to summon every ounce of self-control to stop myself from pulling out the poison and forcing him to drink it. On the other hand, while I knew Xie Jin's feelings stemmed from my perceived value, I couldn't shake the feeling that his interest in me back in Xinzhou was far more than just my role in suppressing a few rebel forces. Compared to actual military campaigns, those were mere skirmishes. What basis did he have to fixate on me? As if to answer my doubts, the Qi King's army soon suffered a devastating defeat. The rebel forces, who should have been entrenched within the city, suddenly changed their commander and tactics, launching a surprise attack on the royal army's encampment. My memories proved utterly useless. The Qi King's army collapsed overnight, suffering heavy casualties. Only through the desperate efforts of several deputy commanders, who shielded Xie Jin as he retreated to Fengqing, was the entire army spared total annihilation. That night, the soldiers were filled with rage, demanding I be held accountable to honor the fallen brothers. Xie Jin stood before me, taking full responsibility upon himself. I am the commander-in-chief. Every decision and tactic was mine. Blame me. The soldiers could only suppress their anger. Later, Xie Jin summoned me into his main tent and asked what I thought. What else could I think? He was absolutely right. A defeat was naturally the fault of the commander-in-chief. Xie Jin stared at me in astonishment. Mingxi, after all this time, do you still not understand this prince's feelings for you? Must I cut out my heart for you to help me? This I couldn't comprehend. How else do you want me to help you, your highness? I've already done everything I possibly could. Seeing I wasn't taking the bait, Xie Jin cut straight to the point. Does your Zhao family hide a treasure map left behind by remnants of the previous dynasty? Your highness speaks of something I've never even heard of. Impossible. Imperial spies have been investigating for years. The most likely ones to have access to that treasure map are your Zhao family. I laughed. Then why didn't your highness simply send men to raid the Zhao residence? Had he done so sooner, I wouldn't have endured such suffering in my previous life. Xie Jin blurted out, do you think I didn't want to? I just received word, Xinzhou has already fallen. Only then did it dawn on me. From the very beginning, Xie Jin's campaign to rescue Xinzhou had been driven by the treasure map. Therefore, after Zhao Yiru escaped Xinzhou and presented the treasure map, reclaiming Xinzhou was no longer an urgent priority for Xie Jin. Rather than being awakened by Zhao Yiru, it was more accurate to say his original intent had never been to save Xinzhou. Whether Zhao Yiru had persuaded him or not, the outcome might well have been the same. I recall this detail was never mentioned in the original book. But it's hardly surprising. An author who creates a female protagonist like Zhao Yiru and then sings her praises, no matter how hard they try to craft a perfect male lead, will inevitably imbue him with an evil nature. Because in the author's eyes, there was never any such thing as gender equality. They wave the banner of women's empowerment while perpetuating the reality of women harming women. Who ultimately benefits from this? Only men. Once I grasped this truth, nothing else surprised me. Seeing my calm expression, Xie Jin grew frantic. You know where the treasure map is, but you refuse to hand it over, don't you? My response remained unchanged. I have no idea what you're talking about, your highness. Xie Jin stared at me, his face etched with disappointment. I had thought you were a woman of ambition and aspiration. Yet you proved to be so selfish and self-serving, with no regard for the nation or its people. Can't you see the common folk suffering in the depths of misery, being brutalized and oppressed by those rebels? Is money more important to you than these suffering people? He used to lecture me like this, urging me to let go of my hatred for Zhao Yiru, to stop stirring up conflict and destroying the hard-won peace of the realm. Yet when he held that treasure map and watched the imperial court retreat step by step, he never once thought of the people's suffering. He deemed it all worthwhile, to thoroughly purge this corrupt court and secure his throne. What were millions of lives compared to that? Handing over the treasure map would truly harm these people. Xie Jin would immediately cease resistance, allowing the rebels to slaughter at will, thus fulfilling his grand narrative of redeeming the realm and winning the people's hearts. Fortunately, I had prepared in advance, hiding the treasure map away before bringing it to the camp. I imagine that while Xie Jin showered me with affection these past days, he likely had men thoroughly search every corner of the Zhao family quarters and my own camp, didn't he? I am profoundly grateful that from the very beginning, I chose a path utterly different from Zhao Yiru's. Had I followed Zhao Yiru's example and used the treasure map to gain the Qi King's trust, even if only to exploit him for revenge against Zhao Yiru, I would be kicking myself now. Some paths allow no missteps. One wrong turn, and there's no turning back. I regarded Xie Jin coldly. Your highness speaks wisely. Money is certainly less important than the people. But the problem is, I have no money. My refusal to budge finally enraged Xie Jin completely, stripping away his veneer of hypocrisy. Gritting his teeth, he swore a solemn oath before me, Zhao Mingxi, even without that treasure map, this prince will crush those rebels. Don't come begging me on your knees when that day comes. At that moment, I still didn't grasp the full meaning behind Xie Jin's words. It wasn't until several nights later, when Xie Jin suddenly ascended the city ramparts and announced his decision to abandon the city and flee. The rebel army's 50,000 troops would reach Fengqing in 2 days. With the current forces of the Qi King's army and the garrison within the city, they didn't even amount to a quarter of the rebels' strength. There was no way they could possibly withstand them. The only way forward now is to fight with our backs against the wall, only then might we carve out a path to survival. Xie Jin's plan was this: leave over 600 women in Fengqing as bait, coating them with poison. Within 10 days, the entire rebel army would be poisoned. Then, he would lead his troops back to counterattack. Victory would be within reach. Standing beneath the city walls, I listened in stunned silence, unable to believe these words could come from a prince known as the benevolent king. Even Zhao Yiru in my past life never entertained the notion of sacrificing an entire city's women. How dare Xie Jin? On what grounds? Furious, I stormed up the ramparts to confront Xie Jin. Is this what you call putting the people first? Aren't these women your people? How can you sacrifice them like this? Xie Jin grinned savagely. In this prince's eyes, there is no distinction between men and women, only the state and the world. If everyone clings to life and fears death, concerned only with 3 square meals a day, the nation will cease to be a nation. To sacrifice for the state and its people, whether man or woman, is an honor. Women especially, for this virtue surpasses husband-serving and child-rearing 1,000-fold. Bullshit. All of it bullshit. In this world, women barely survive under men's rule. Now they must sacrifice for men's glory? Women bear the sacrifice, yet only men reap the rewards. In times of peace, who would honor these women? They're merely seen as stains. Xie Jin ignored me, raising his arms and roaring to the crowd below, "Sisters of Fengqing. Do you not wish to prove to all under heaven that women too can accomplish great deeds, that women too can save the world? Will you stand by while those rebels slaughter your parents, brothers, husbands, even your children, waiting for others to save you? Now an opportunity to contribute your strength for the nation and its people lies before you. Do you not wish to seize it?" An indescribable sorrow permeated the city. All eyes focused on these women. Daughters, sisters, wives, mothers each bore the weight of sacrifice for someone else. Yet among those someones, their own names were absent. Amid the throng, hands began to rise. "I will go. I will go." One frail arm after another shot upward. Like wildflowers blooming across the thawed earth, swept by the spring breeze. They knew full well the humiliating, agonizing torment awaiting them. One moment blooming in the morning sun, the next crushed beneath mud-caked boots. From petals to roots, shattered inch by inch, never to rise and sing again. Yet even as fear betrayed them, making them sob uncontrollably, they held their arms high. What they sought to uphold was the dignity and spirit of all women. It was their loved ones. It was the future of their entire homeland. Never before had I felt such a burning desire to tear someone limb from limb to quench the hatred in my heart. Not even for Zhao Yiru had I felt this way. I charged at Xie Jin, pressing my blade against his throat before he could resist. I threatened him, "If you dare harm a single woman in this city, I'll kill you right here. Go ahead, try me." Xie Jin, however, seemed utterly unafraid. He wore a mocking smile. "Zhao Mingxi," he said, "I told you, you'd end up begging me on your knees. But even if you did kneel before me now, I wouldn't change my mind. I just want to see how you'll stand alone against everyone, including your dearest sister." As Xie Jin finished speaking, I saw Liangyan slowly ascend from the other side of the ramparts. Since joining the army, she and I had always dressed as men for convenience. But now, she wore a crimson gown and colorful skirt, like a flower bursting to bloom. My eyes burned hot, rage searing my heart. "Liangyan, have you lost your mind? Do you believe his lies too?" Liangyan knelt before me with a thud. "Sister Zhao, I deceived you. My father and brother didn't die defending the city, I caused their deaths. Had I not insisted on searching for Xinlang, they wouldn't have been killed by rebels on the streets while looking for me. Mother wouldn't have been left alone at home, violated and murdered by those rebels, powerless to resist." I stared at Liangyan in shock. My life was never meant to be spared. Now, if I can contribute even a fraction to the court's fight against the enemy, I willingly offer it. Not just as bait, even if they were to skin me and make a war drum from my hide, I would accept it willingly. My hands trembled. I recalled how all misfortune in my past life began with those words, "I am willing to sacrifice myself for the people." This sentiment itself held no fault. The fate of the nation rests on every citizen's shoulders. Just like the countless women gathered below now, who among them did not willingly offer themselves for the country? Yet such pure devotion should never become a weapon wielded by those in power. For the swords thrust today at rebels will one day turn back upon the women of the realm. If all women believe these lies, that when nation or family faces peril, they must offer themselves first, they only deepen their role as men's sacrifices. From then on, women bear the responsibility and duty to judge the rise and fall of dynasties. When the dynasty flourishes, women must serve their husbands and raise their children, embodying the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. When the dynasty declines, women must sacrifice themselves for the nation, putting the world before themselves. And men, possessing such women, have already won the world. I refuse to become such a woman. Nor do I wish to see anyone else become such a woman. The only way is this: kill those who seek to turn us into such women. Zhao Mingxi, what are you doing? Xie Jin was driven step by step to the edge of the city wall by me. My blade pressed into his neck, and his earlier arrogance vanished instantly, his face drained of all color. Did he think threatening me with the lives of every woman in the city would make me hesitate to act? Absurd. I would show him what it meant to court death. I thrust the blade forward with all my strength. Xie Jin recoiled in terror, half his body instantly dangling over the edge of the city wall. The other soldiers hesitated, torn between rushing to rescue him and fearing he might fall to his death. They stood frozen, unable to move. Only after confirming no one dared approach did I turn to Liang Yun. Get up. Liang Yun hesitated for a moment before obediently rising to her feet. I berated her harshly. Your father and brothers risked their lives searching everywhere for you, solely to save your life. Yet you tell me your life is unimportant? What about them then? Did they die for nothing? Given the chaos in the city that day, even if you hadn't gone out searching for some random cat or dog, your family might not have survived. The dead from the Zhao family are the perfect example. When the nest is destroyed, how can the eggs remain intact? It's none of your business. You're just being overly sentimental. I turned my gaze to the 600 women below the city wall and shouted, use your brains. The enemy has 50,000 troops, while you number only 600. How could the poison smeared on your bodies possibly last 10 days? Do you think you can serve as bait, wearing clothes and hiding poison, slipping into the camp and just reapply the poison whenever it wears off? Wrong. You'll be stripped naked, delivered without any threat, like raw meat on a chopping block, ready for slaughter. Not only will you never poison those rebels, but some beasts will force you to swallow all manner of drugs to satisfy their twisted desires. Forget 10 days, within 7, half of you will die from the rebels' torture. Why do I know all this? Because I lived through it all in my previous life. Precisely because I experienced it, I know even more clearly that Xie Jin's plan is nothing but sending them to their deaths for nothing. It won't help the battle in the slightest. After I finished speaking, silence fell over the crowd below. It felt like a stone dropped into a pitch-black abyss, never to reach the bottom. Just as despair nearly overwhelmed me, a sharp tearing sound suddenly rang out, almost echoing across the city ramparts. Liang Yun tore off half her long skirt, shook the hairpin from her head, and repinned her hair into a bun. She looked up at Xie Jin, suspended midair, and refused sharply, I won't go. If you must, go yourself. With that refusal, I saw the hands raised high below begin to drop one by one. Those women who moments before had wept bitterly yet declared resolutely, I'll go, now awoke from their daze and voiced their defiance. I won't go either. I refuse to be such a meaningless sacrifice. How can the court do this? Knowing it's a pointless death, yet still sacrificing us? Haven't we suffered enough these years? Are our lives as women not lives at all? To be treated with such contempt by you? What kind of dogshit Prince Qi is this? Does he deserve the title of benevolent prince? How is he any different from those rebels? If we're all going to die anyway, I'd rather fight those rebels to the end. The voices grew louder and more numerous, like a pot of water simmering for too long, finally reaching a boiling point. And once it boiled, it would never settle again, only rage onward. For the fuel stoking this fire wasn't wood, but countless awakened souls. Eventually, even the other citizens of Fengqing joined the fury. For years, they'd already suffered enough under the corrupt court. Now, after suffering defeat himself, Prince Qi had retreated to Fengqing. Instead of protecting his people, he demanded they hand over their wives and daughters to be violated by the rebels. This was the last straw. Amidst the deafening roar of rebellion, Xie Jin finally grasped the catastrophe descending upon him. He began desperately pleading, "Zhao Mingxi, I was wrong. I abandoned this plan. We can discuss things properly." "Discuss my ass." I flung the dagger aside. "Yun." Liang Yun caught it with perfect timing, pressing the blade against Xie Jin's throat in my stead. I yanked Xie Jin back from midair, pried open his jaw with one hand, and poured the contents of the vial down his throat with the other. The poison slid down Xie Jin's throat. He instantly clutched his neck, veins bulging. His eyes widened in terror. "Zhao Mingxi, what did you force me to drink?" From the day I saw Xie Jin again, I'd longed for this moment, fantasizing countless times about forcing open his mouth and violently pouring the poison down his throat. Now, my wish was finally granted. Only, my original plan was to poison him to death outright. But after tonight's events, I suddenly felt letting him die so quickly would be too easy for him. So I switched to a different vial at the last minute. He would first lose his senses, then the ability to control his limbs. He'd become a helpless mass of flesh, unable to move, enduring months of slow decay as his internal organs rotted away until death. Just like Zhao Yin. Even before dying, he'd already begun to stink. He'd only wish for death to come sooner. With Xie Jin's collapse, the Qi Wang army instantly lost its backbone. The people, filled with righteous fury, shielded me and Liang Yun, forming a standoff against the Qi army. Already severely weakened after their defeat, with dwindling numbers, how could they now dare openly defy the people and trouble me? Moreover, with 50,000 rebel forces poised to attack Fengqing, they were leaderless and desperately needed someone to make decisions for them. Then they remembered the victories I'd helped them win earlier and unexpectedly turned to me for help. They selected several deputy commanders who'd gotten along well with me before to seek peace. "Miss Zhao, please forgive us for our past mistakes. Show us a way forward. We can't just abandon the city and flee, can we? What would become of these people? As soldiers, we'd rather die on the battlefield." These words were finally human. At last, I saw the sense of duty befitting true men in them. Indeed, without those damned male and female leads, the world seemed a bit more normal. The instinct to survive is human. For the Qi King's army, whether their leader was a woman no longer mattered. As long as I could keep them alive, they were willing to accept me as their commander. I ran my hand over the royal banner emblazoned with the massive character Qi on the city wall, then yanked it out forcefully and tossed it down below. From this moment on, the Qi King's army shall be renamed the Mingxi Army. Later, the Grand Wei Chronicles recorded the Battle of Fengqing as a miracle. The Mingxi army and Fengqing garrison, numbering less than one-fifth of the rebel forces, supplemented by unarmed citizens of Fengqing, held out against the rebels for a full 26 days. They annihilated 27,000 enemy troops. Even more remarkable was the emergence during this battle of a well-trained women's army, led by the militia commander Liang Yun, who roamed the city providing support wherever needed. It was precisely their timely interventions that fortified Fengqing like a rock-solid bastion, holding out until imperial reinforcements arrived. From this battle onward, the rebels retreated in defeat, while Mingxi's forces advanced like a steamroller. 3 months later, Mingxi's army utterly annihilated all rebel forces, having transformed into an unbreakable military force. The Great Wei Chronicle halted at this very moment. No one could have foreseen that Zhao Mingxi, who had earned immense merit for the court, would launch a rebellion on the very day of her triumphant return to the capital. She stormed the imperial palace, severed the head of the incompetent emperor, then donned the yellow robe, ascended the throne as emperor, changed the nation's name to Xian, and welcomed Liang Yun as empress. Yes, it was that shocking. A woman as emperor. Another woman as empress. Public resentment boiled over instantly. No one could accept a woman ruling as emperor. Even ordinary women of the world felt it was utterly unacceptable. No matter how capable a woman might be, her duty should be to tend to her household and raise her children, shouldn't it? It was already enough for her to fight on the battlefield. How could she dare defy the world's greatest taboo and aspire to stand above men? Fueled by this discontent, officials who had previously submitted under military pressure began to stir, plotting to overthrow the empress's rule. When Liang Yun placed the gathered intelligence on my desk, I merely gave a cold laugh. The Mingxi army now numbered 500,000. Let them try to overthrow us if they dare. Liang Yun's brows furrowed with worry, But sister, most of those 500,000 are men too. What if they turn their swords against us? Then there's even less to worry about. During the 4 months of suppressing the rebellion, I had already leaked the news of my possession of the treasure map to the most ambitious generals in the army. The imperial court is now so impoverished it can barely feed itself. Even if they wish to replace me, they'll first try to extract the treasure's location from me. And they'll be wary of each other, creating a balance of mutual restraint. These days, my hands ache from receiving love letters from those men. Every one of them wants to be my sweetheart. I'm also planning to pick out a few civil officials and do the same with them. Soon, both the military and civil officials will be scrambling to curry favor with me. Liang Yin suddenly understood. This is what sister meant when she said men only approach you for personal gain. No wonder, during those 4 months suppressing the rebellion, those men suddenly changed completely. I actually thought they'd been won over by sister's brilliant leadership. After speaking, Liang Yin suddenly realized her slip. I didn't mean to imply sister isn't brilliant. I swept the love letters into a wicker basket. Fine, if you're criticizing me, I'll accept it. After all, you sacrificed so much for me. On the day of my coronation, my pride swelled. I'd intended to announce Liang Yun's appointment as chancellor. But in a slip of the tongue, I declared before all the officials that I would crown her empress. To retract it now would make this empress seem utterly lacking in authority. Upon reflection, I realized the slip held unexpected merit. It would declare to the realm that women could rule as emperors, need not marry men, and could choose their companions freely. Naturally, after court adjourned, I sought Liang Yun's consent. To my surprise, she offered no objection. Fine. We slept together every night during our military days anyway, I'm used to it. But this time is different. Don't you want to find your Xinlang? What Xinlang? Why would I look for him? He might be dead already. Liang Yun's expression was calm and unconcerned, but I knew it wasn't the man named Xin who had died, it was her heart. If that man truly loved her, on the day the rebel army slaughtered the city, it wouldn't have been Liang Yun seeking him out, it would have been him seeking her. Well, so be it. At our position, finding another man would only be a burden. In the decade after the great Xian dynasty was established, under Liang Yun and my governance, it gradually entered a golden age. The people lived in peace and contentment, and their resentment toward me, the empress, faded. Public discontent quietly subsided, and the officials gradually accepted this reality. Sometimes, a capable woman on the throne proved more dependable than a foolish man. Over those 10 years, I also dealt with each of the ambitious generals from the Mingxi army, bringing the entire military under my control. Everything unfolded exactly as I had anticipated. Like frogs in slowly heating water, women across the land had been simmering for so many years that they eventually forgot how to resist. I boiled these men in the same gentle water. Given time, they too would grow accustomed to this environment ruled by women. After unifying the realm, Liang Yun and I finally began the work of enlightening women across the land. We knew well that women had been indoctrinated for generations. Ice 3 feet thick does not melt in a single day. Establishing schools, opening imperial examinations for women, abolishing blind marriages. Every task must be undertaken. Each step proved arduous. Yet compared to a decade prior, progress had become far easier. For Liang Yun and I had already set the precedent. We showed the world that women, too, could accomplish great deeds and govern the realm. Without harming other women. Without clinging to men. Relying solely on ourselves. We could stand firmly within the heavens and earth. Only then would they cease instinctively sacrificing women when trouble arose. Only then will women have the chance to unleash their talents. Only then will they realize they are no less than men. When all women under heaven see and acknowledge their own worth, willing to push open the door that imprisons them and step out into the world, only then will a true golden age truly dawn. The story ends here. Thank you all for your companionship. See you in the next chapter.